There is no way they do this with a huge report coming out of Portland and Deandre Ayton's contract being bought out. The San Antonio Spurs, as they need a big man, have been linked to Deandre Ayton and bringing him in on a give it a shot, see what happens kind of contract. But there are a lot more signs, warning signs than ever with this. We have to dive into what happened with Ayton. The odds the Spurs could go after him, no way they do this. And look, we're going to get into their stats and all that stuff, but it's not just that. We got the Summer League coming up and we have free agency just in a few hours, and the Spurs did extend offers to 2 specific players, and we're here to share all that on this episode of Spurs Digest. Quick reminder though, hit that free subscribe button because we got Spurs news all off season long. Still 70% of you. Some of you are subscribing. We're almost at 8,000. Thank you for being here. Let's jump into some fun stuff first. Now, I know the Ayton stuff. Look, I got my opinion I got to give on that, and I know you guys are probably already typing the comments. You probably have already submitted them by now, but we're going to start with something a little nice here. Take a look at this from Don Harris. I am told the Spurs officially tendered qualifying offers to Riley Minix and Harrison Ingram yesterday. Both are now restricted free agents beginning tomorrow. Mamu Kelishvili, unfortunately, will be unrestricted. There have been some rumors that Mamu could come back to the Spurs, but regardless, I want to focus on Minix and Ingram. Now, why am I focusing on these guys? Ingram played 5 games for the Spurs this year. Minix played 1. Look, they played great in the preseason. I think they got some Summer League run last year, but I want to focus on these guys because, look, there's one thing I want to dive into, and again, it's the Spurs payroll. I love using this thing here, and again, it doesn't have the updated players that we have, but taking a look at it, like, we know with the new CBA, we know with team salary structure changing, ever changing now in the league, again with the second apron stuff, even first apron stuff, if you can get the most out of these kind of end of bench guys, you are really in good shape, right? If you have these guys that can step in for just a moment on these small contracts to fill a void for an injury, something like that, it's really, really valuable in today's NBA, more than it has been in a long time. And so when we're talking about guys like Minix and Ingram, who really are not getting much run for the Spurs, but are playing in the G League, it's something that can matter. And I want to just dive into what they bring, because Riley Minix, like, there's one thing with him that is very interesting, because in college, like, I think he was shooting 33% from 3, but this season in the G League, 13 points a game, 4.5 boards, and a block a night, 52% from the field, 47% from 3. Now, I think he was measured like 6'8" barefoot. He's 6'9"-ish, 6'10" with shoes. Prototypical 4, like kind of a stretch 4 with Riley Minix. We saw him again play in the preseason last year. But again, these kind of guys can provide extraordinary value for you if they can even crack that lineup, even just for a bit of the season. And he can come in and knock down threes. He had really good free throw indicators in college. Again, this is not a big sample size here, or, you know, again, with the Spurs, it was one game where he didn't score a point, but there's something about him, like this kind of guy, 6'8", 6'9", can shoot the 3 ball very, very well. He really took leaps and bounds from college to that NBA leap on his shooting, which is, because in college, he was known as kind of an inside the arc scorer, but he evolved his game to now be able to spread the floor, shoot that 3 at an elite clip. Again, we saw it in the preseason, and he has just improved and improved and improved ever since he joined the league. So real highlight on Riley Minix, but that type of player, yeah, shooting is important for the Spurs. That's why I think he could be important. But I want to highlight Harrison Ingram as well, who honestly, like, he's only like 6'6". Like, I think he's like 6'6", 6'7". He's not that big, but 12.8 points, 9.3 boards, 3.8 assists. The dude was a machine in the G League this year, kind of doing a bit of everything. 1.6 steals. Again, the defensive upside is what we had with Harrison Ingram coming out of UNC, right? The shooting has always been a bit of a concern. He is really not that efficient on offense. His free throw percentage is bad. He has a slow first step when he has the ball in his hands. So he's never going to really be able to create offense at the NBA level, which is a pretty big knock, right? It makes you maybe not be able to carve out a huge role in the NBA. But when you can hustle, when you can play good defense and hustle, that's always very valuable. It's just, again, one of those little things that if you can even carve out a tiny role for yourself, you play 20, 30 games in a year, and you play 10 minutes in each of those games, maybe filling in for injury, whatever, and you can just work your butt off, your tail off, night in, night out, every time you get that chance, it can be valuable. So I just wanted to give some praise to some guys that we don't really talk about a whole lot in Ingram and Minix, and just really cool that they are going to be RFAs. We can match whatever. They're not going to be UFAs going to sign with different teams. We wanted to keep them around the org. They've shown some nice strides and improvement. Really wanted to give them a shout out. As we get into one of the most ridiculous things I think I've seen in ages. Look, we know Deandre Ayton got bought out by the Portland Trailblazers. And actually, before we get into this, the Portland Trailblazers are paying Deandre Ayton $30 million just to not play basketball for them. This guy was a starter on a finals team in the Phoenix Suns. Deandre Ayton getting a buyout is one of the most insane things I feel like we've seen this offseason, but the thing with Ayton is his effort has always been a massive concern, which is why I find it surprising when we see guys like Brett Siegel. Look, they're the Hornets, Spurs, Cavs, and Sixers in the mix for front court needs. I fully expect Ayton to have multiple teams interested in adding him to a small, take a chance on him type of contract. Like, I know the Spurs are in need of a big man. I feel like having the Spurs name in DeAndre Ayton talks is kind of ridiculous because to me, he's kind of the anti-Spur. The guy has complained, has had attitude problems pretty much everywhere he went, and the effort problems have followed him every single place he has stepped foot on the court. Now, we do have like Spurs reporter coming in saying, look, it's a high risk, high reward free agent suddenly in play, but the effort, that's been the knock. Low motor rep has followed him for years, and it's the kind of thing that doesn't fly in San Antonio's culture of grit, accountability, and relentless work. If the Spurs take a swing, they'll have to bet they can unlock a version of Ayton that stays locked in. It's also a pricing move that carries risk. So, to me, there's no way they do this. Like, I understand the Spurs need a center, especially a backup center, and like, or maybe you could start him alongside Wemby. I don't really see that ever happening. It doesn't really make sense to me. He averaged 14 and 10. He's 26 years old, almost 27. He's actually healthy right now. Like, the red flags, like the fact that he's this age, he puts up decent numbers. He was the starter on a finals team. This guy has had like 20 point per game seasons basically, and it's like, and they're paying him $30 million to not play for them. He just doesn't fit the Spurs. Again, purely from a positional and statistical standpoint, yes, I think it makes sense. From every other standpoint, he does not fit the culture. Even if you think you can unlock him, you are not going to give him the type of money that other teams will give him to take a shot on him. Because again, we don't have that much we can give him. Right away, my brain is like, he's going to be a Laker. Or he's going to try and cash in, go to the Charlotte Hornets or something, who can offer him a bag, play him with LaMelo Ball, and then DeAndre Ayton obviously all of a sudden puts up 22 points a game, 12 rebounds, and like, oh my gosh, right, Ayton still got it. Someone else will pay him after that at a big contract. Like, to me, there's no way to fit him into the Spurs team unless you give him some kind of low deal. Say, listen, DeAndre, until you prove it, we're not paying you anything, blah, blah, blah. That just doesn't seem to fly with him. And look, I'm not here to take personal attacks at DeAndre Ayton. I'm just saying that when we're talking about people that the Spurs should go out and sign, he is not near the top of my list. In fact, he's near the bottom. I just don't think it works with the type of roster we have constructed right now. I think there's far better fits. Again, Luke Cornett for a backup center, that fits the bill absolutely. Maybe you bring Mamu back. I don't know. Guerschon Yabusele is a backup big, not a 5, obviously, but a 4, because he's 6'8". Look, he can play maybe tiny ball 5. I don't know, whatever. But there are options that not only fit the Spurs salary cap needs better, they fit the Spurs culture, hustle, effort, grit kind of better. We know players that haven't shown those attributes have not worked out for the Spurs in the past. And look, pick your favorite example and leave a comment down below. I mean, look, Steven Jackson's one that comes to mind, but whatever, right? There's a lot of different guys, but yeah, no way they do this. This is crazy that I'm seeing the Spurs even linked to this. Honestly, by the time this video goes out, we might just be a couple hours away from him signing with the Los Angeles Lakers or Charlotte Hornets. You've heard it here first. Well, probably not first. You've probably seen those. Actually, they were literally in the tweet I showed. So I guess I wasn't first. But maybe you heard it here first. That's what I think's going to happen. But I want to hear what you think's going to happen. Leave your thoughts on this down below. This offseason's got off to a crazy start, and I think it's just going to get crazier. But hey, that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest Spurs news, hit that free subscribe button down below. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.